Alright, I'm back in Oslo now, by the way, and recently I took a road trip with wifey through several countries in Europe. We didn't go all the way, but this video I will summarize. That dog, by the way. Okay, sorry for that, it's my neighbor's dog. But I will summarize the whole trip, how it went and all that, so let's just get started. So here you see an outline of where we went. So we took the land route and then over to my friend's house in Nürnberg, and then over to Paris, and then we went to Switzerland, and then to Munich, München. Yeah, it says München there, you see? And then Hallstatt, and then to Berlin and Lubeck, and back to Oslo. Yes. So the first day we traveled from Oslo all the way to Nürnberg in one day. That was 1,200 kilometers, and I managed to average 100 kilometers per hour, at least for the first 10 hours. And then towards the end, it was a little bit slower. But I took the land route because I prefer that one with the bridges. It's actually cheaper if you have the, well, I have it here, yeah. The Bropass, yeah, then it's cheaper, for me at least. But the last part was a bit slow, some Landstrasse, and that's where I followed this Golf that hit the deer, yeah, not the reindeer, the deer, yes, so it was around there. And I slept at my friend's house, Amadeus. He has 22 kilowatts, so that's great. And then the next day I went for Paris. I had to take a few detours though. The first supercharger was in Common. I had some KFC, yes, and then I charged way too fast as usual, so I had to move the car. And then we went to Bonn to see this guy, Telekom Deutschland. You know, they gave me this Get Charge card, which works throughout Germany only, but I get to test it out. And then while I was there, I also interviewed him, and I charged at this 100 kilowatt charger, which gave me about 75 kilowatt because it didn't have water-cooled CCS2 cable. It was only CCS1. But I also had to take a detour to go to this supercharger. Next one was Verviers or something. Very long detour to get to the city. And weird, awkward, because I don't have any business to do there. So that was not my favorite. And then the next one, next supercharger was Valenciennes. Also, not that long detour, but it's still some detour from the highway, from the motorway, just to get there. And then there was just a hotel there, so really nothing to do there for me as a traveler. And then I planned that, okay, we'll just take a quick stop there, and then we go to Saint-Lys supercharger, because there we have at least a restaurant, grill, but the problem is that it took too long before the food was on the table. After all, they had to barbecue the food and everything. So I actually moved the car before the food was on the table, and I think I had about 85% or something. And then we went to the hotel in Paris. Turns out that this Hotel Novotel Suites, they have Schuko and Type 3C. Well, nobody has Type 3C cable, but at least Schuko. So what's good about that hotel was that they try to reserve the spot. They made a good effort, put up cones and stuff to make those spots available, and they shoo away fossils who park there. So that's awesome. And then for the following days, we stayed in Paris, just doing some regular tourist stuff. And I started with 90% every day, all habit. And it turns out that wasn't necessary. So at least I didn't visit any supercharger like I did in the past. And I didn't have to charge during the day at all. And I saw that I usually spend about 20-30% only. And then after the Paris stay, we checked out, charged the car, and then I drove 316 kilometers from Paris directly to Bonn. Bonn? I think that's it called. And I managed to average 110 kilometers per hour. So I wasn't doing an eco run, you know. Most of the time I went a little bit over the speed limit even. So that's quite impressive to drive over 300 kilometers on French motorways. And at that supercharger, we bought some supplies at Carrefour, and then we waited for the mussels with fries to be available at 6. So we stayed there quite a long time. And again, I had to move the car because it finished charging. And then the last stop for that day was in Lully. I wasn't sure about charging, so I just stopped there. We had a quick pit stop, and we needed a stop anyway. You know, we went to the restroom, and then we checked some restaurant because we just happened to be in Switzerland in the National Day. So almost everything was closed, but I think we found one that was open. But in the end, we didn't go there anyway. We just had some noodles. And we stayed at Ibis Budget. Yeah. No charging there, but there was some charging nearby. But I figured that I didn't need to charge. Ibis Budget, I mean, first of all, you guys have to know, I mean, most of you guys already know that Switzerland is really expensive. And even the Ibis Budget was about 100 euros. So you can imagine how expensive the regular, more 3-4 star hotels are. Okay, the next day we went to Bern, which was only 32 kilometers away. And first I wanted to try some street parking, but I found out it needs coin, and I only bring euros. I don't want to carry yet another currency. So I scratched that idea, and then we went to this city hall parking among Bern. That's what it's called. Which had several 22 kilowatt Type 2 chargers in there. They were free, only had to plug in and press start, so that was awesome. So I stayed there a couple of hours, and then we went to Zurich, and I found this park house Urania. Yeah, and they also had charging there actually, but I didn't really need to charge. But I just tested it anyway, and I tried different. I tried the Get Charge. It didn't work. It only works in Germany. But plug surfing chip worked, and it started charging. But then I realized, oh, it's a bit expensive. So I just stopped. And I think I didn't charge long enough, so I was never billed for that short charging session. I think if you have a charging session less than a couple of minutes, then you will not be billed. So that's good. But okay, and then after some sightseeing, then we went to the hotel, and I picked this hotel because it had a Type 2 charging station right outside the hotel. Very convenient. There was also a BMW dealership just 100 meters away, which also had a cheaper charging there. But I just wanted to charge right outside the hotel. But then I started learning that, okay, you know, when you have plug surfing, it's kind of expensive. Yeah, you have a price per kilowatt hour plus a starting fee. I'm not a fan of the starting fee. And I found out after I charged it, I used plug surfing there. I found out afterwards that Virta also works there, and New Motion also works, and they have lower price than plug surfing. So yeah, but anyway, so I didn't charge in the evening because I didn't want the state of charge to be too high for too long. It's not good for the battery. So this is more like tweaking. For most people, it doesn't matter as long as you don't go 100%. But I topped up in the morning instead to about 90%. After I topped up, we went to find a bakery. And it seems like most bakeries were closed or whatever. It could be because of the National Day. But I just happened to find a free 22 kilowatt charger somewhere, and I added it on PlugShare. So because it wasn't on any other map, whatever I saw. So, and then we went towards this place, this beautiful place. It's called Walensee. It's a lake shaped as a whale. Yeah, so this Walensee or something like that. And I had to go take a quick pit stop, restroom break at Vilsbach, and there just happened to be a charging station there. I don't know what kind of network it is. It doesn't matter as long as you have this roaming via plug surfing. But again, I found out that plug surfing is more expensive than New Motion or Virta. I'm not sure. Well, on Virta, it didn't show up there. But Virta is from Finland, but it also works throughout Europe. Yeah, I'll come back to that. And then we went to this spot at Walensee, and we stayed there for several hours. We've been there before 5 years ago, so it was somewhat special spot for us. Took some photos, took selfies, did some time lapse over there. So we're just chilling there, and obviously we're not plugged in. Yeah. And then afterwards, we went to have some food at Su Braverai. No charging there either. That's fine. And then we drove straight to the hotel in Kempten. in Germany. And I charged, there was several 22 kilowatt charging locations in that city. So I chose one close to the hotel, but I still had to walk about 5 minutes back to the hotel. So I did a little top up in the evening, and also found out that they have Schuko in the garage. And by the way, it was in that garage at Hotel Peterhof in Kempten, in the underground parking garage, that Austrian guy with the Nissan Micra dented my car. So it happened there. Some people think it happened in Berlin. No, I discovered it in Berlin, but it happened in Kempten many days before that. The next day we went to Neuschwanstein to do some sightseeing over there, and there is an AC charging station there, but I found out it's too far away. I don't have to always charge, so I chose to stay somewhere closer to the tourist stuff, but those spots were pretty tight. But fortunately, I looked at the sentry mods afterwards, and there were no damages. I saw that people were being careful, so that's good. You see, you can have tight parking spots without people damaging your car, as long as they are careful. Yes. And then after that visit, we went for Munich. Yeah, by the way, I say München because München is the real name for the city. And then Munich is the English name, but yeah, just like Praha and Prague, right? On the way there, we stopped at this weird place to charge up. I thought it was an Ionity site, but it turns out it has to be network or whatever that just happened to also show up on the Ionity app. I don't know why. So it was so-called 150 kilowatt, but it didn't have a water-cooled cable, so I was only getting 75 kilowatt. Fair enough. Turns out that place is a well-known Hyundai Ioniq dealership. So if you want to buy a Hyundai Ioniq in Germany, you usually have to wait about a year before you can get it. But that guy, he gets them, and you can get one. I mean, you can get an Ioniq the same day if you like. Yeah. And then that night we stayed at Solar Business Hotel. It's a fairly new hotel, good prices. And I always ask the reception every time I check in if they have charging. And they just happen to have charging. It didn't show up on plug surfing or anything. Plug share, I mean. So I had 22 kilowatt, but unfortunately it wasn't activated and they didn't have the key. So I was like, okay, no big deal. So I went scavenging nearby because I also chose that location because there was supposed to be an AC charging station. And it turns out that they recently upgraded it to a hypercharger. So I tested it, and since we were since we were already in Germany, the Get Charge card worked there. So I was getting 120 kilowatt. I would probably get more. That one had water-cooled cables. So it was very nice. And then the next day I went downtown to visit NIO, and that's where I tested the ES8. Yeah, and while I was testing it, I could charge MC Hammer in the garage. And then later that night, I went back to the hotel. The staff, they found the key and they turned it to the 2 position, and then I could charge there also. So I had plenty of juice anyways. Yeah. And then the next day we check out that hotel. We check out at noon. Yes, I mean, you see, we are being really lazy. After all, we are on vacation, and we are the type of guy. We are the type B, who wakes up late. So we check out at noon, and then we went downtown to tea time to have some iced tea and stuff. And I think that detour took some time. Yeah. So it wasn't optimal, but okay, fair enough. And then we went towards Salzburg, and then a little bit south of Salzburg, we went to an Ionity station and charged up there. And then we had lunch, some soup. And as usual, as expected, when you have food break, you will charge a lot. So by the time we finished food, we were at 94%. Yeah. And by the way, it was also over there I tried the Virta card because back then, I think it was a bug. According to Virta app, you're supposed to be able to charge there for only 5 euro cents per minute. And Swiss Charge has that same feature. But I was not able to download Swiss app for some reason. I don't know why. But I tried it with the Virta card and it worked. But afterwards, I see in Virta app that I charged some kilowatt hours, but I was not billed for it. It happened 2 times actually, so I'm a little bit puzzled. But It was a bit of mystery because a couple of days after I published the video, then suddenly the prices changed in Vista. So maybe they watched my videos and they found out, oh shit, scheiße, we have a little bug here. Yeah. So they fix it. Now it says 7 point something FR. I'm not sure what that FR. It seems anyway to be a fixed price per session, like it should be for now. After that charging break, anyway, we went towards Hallstatt, but halfway there, we found out that the road was closed, so we had to go back to Salzburg and then drive via Bad Isch, and then we arrived eventually in Hallstatt. But I thought about topping up on the way, but actually I had enough range and I didn't have to top up, so we went all the way to Hallstatt, yeah. But we arrived there at 7:30 in the evening. So, okay, if we didn't wake up that late and if we didn't take that detour to Munich, then we would probably be there. And also, if we knew about the detour, the closed road, we could have been there maybe, let's say, 4 in the afternoon, which would have been a lot better. So I went straight to the P1 parking lot in Hallstatt, which has one 22 kilowatt and one 11 kilowatt, but they were both occupied, so I'm like, okay, whatever, unfortunately. So we went to sightseeing there for a couple of hours, evening sightseeing, and then we went for the hotel, which was not, it was a little bit outside of Hallstatt. It's called Obertraun or something. That hotel has also some plugs. They had a red plug and some shukos, but I asked the staff if I can charge there, but they said no, not possible. Like, okay, so too bad. Okay, and the next day we left Hallstatt, and when I left when I left the hotel driving towards Hallstatt, I found out that there were lots of people parking on other parking spots outside of Hallstatt. So I was thinking, why did they park there? Are they trying to save money or something? No, actually not. Because when we passed through Hallstatt, I saw that P1 and P2 were all full. Yeah. But fortunately, the charging stations, they were available. And as far as I know, you can charge. Well, you have to pay for charging, but you can park for free at those spots. So that is an advantage if you have an EV. You can park there and you don't have to walk 2-3 kilometers. Another thing is that I noticed that on the Austrian Autobahn, the Austrian motorways, there would be this sign. Normally there would be 130 zone, but there was a sign saying 110 IGL, and that is, some people told me that it means that they have this environmental speed limit there to reduce emission, but EVs, they can drive at 130 kilometers per hour. But unfortunately, in order to drive that fast, you need some kind of sticker or something, some badge or whatever. And foreigners, they obviously don't have that. So that is unfortunate. They should be able to detect it that, okay, it's a Tesla or it's a Leaf. So yeah. So we left Hallstatt, and that day we were gonna go for Berlin, which is kind of far away. And there are several roads to Berlin. You can go via Prague, you can take some other routes, and I chose the A9 route via Germany. So I didn't feel like paying for a vignette just to drive through here. But on hindsight, I should have gone via Prague, because the A9 was pretty congested, lots of stau on the way, and I also avoided parts of A9 because it was just too congested. But okay, by the way, before we went there, we also took a detour into the München again for some food, and that took some time. Yeah, and we also had stau when we tried to enter München, so that was not good. Wasted a lot of time there. On hindsight, I should have gone for some easy food by the supercharger or whatever. Further up north in Germany, we found this camouflage e-tron at Himmelkron. Yeah, so you can see more of that in the actual road trip video. And then the last supercharger for that day was Bielitz, a little bit south of Berlin, and it was in this really awkward place, some kind of a little bit scary place. So that's what I don't like about supercharger. They are at some awkward place away from the highway, away from people, some of them. But okay, when we arrived at the hotel in Berlin, I found out that man, it has a 22 kilowatt nearby. I forgot about it. I checked it when I planned it. That's why I chose that hotel, but I forgot about it. So if I remember that one, we probably didn't have to stop at that weird Belitz supercharger. Okay, so the next day we were just staying in Berlin, did some sightseeing, and that's where I discovered, discovered the damage on the on the paint and stuff, you know, on the wheel arch. I think that's what it's called. And then also during the day, I tested out this AC charging in Potsdamer Platz. I didn't really have to charge because I know I had charging at the hotel, but then I started comparing the prices, and you see, Get Charge is the cheapest one. It costs only 29 euro cents per kilowatt hours, and then Virta is a little bit more expensive, and then New Motion is even more expensive, and the most expensive is Plug Surfing, which has also a price per minute. So no, now I'm starting to see that Plug Surfing is in many cases the most expensive, what do you call it, the most expensive charging network you can use. Well, it's, I think I only use the right term, but yeah, you know what I mean. And also that night I checked out the charging spot outside the hotel, and you see the sign here. I was trying to understand how it works. So for STD is short for Stunden, which means hours. So 4 hours, and then it says 8 to 18. So from what I understand, it means that between 8 in the morning and 6 in the afternoon, in the evening, you have a 4-hour limit. And then, but then outside of that time, then it's actually free for all. So I saw a fossil car blocking one of the charging spots one evening. So it also means that if you charge, I mean, if I park there at midnight, I can set the dial to 8 in the morning, and then I have to move the car by noon. Yeah, because then you are 4 hours within that time zone. Yeah. So, but I didn't charge. I mean, I didn't feel like hogging that spot, even though it probably didn't matter because it's not really a place where lots of people charge. I actually never saw anyone charge there, but it's just general rule of thumb is that if you don't need to hog it, then avoid hogging it. So I just park outside the hotel. They had some free parking over there, so that was great. And then also nearby the hotel there was a police station, and I saw police there, around there several times. And at 3 at night, a police car went over to check my car. I saw it on sentry mode activated when the police officer approached the car. Then he used a flashlight to just look into the car. I don't know what the heck, he was looking for drugs or something. And I think, and then sentry mode activated on the screen also. And then I think that was maybe the first time he saw it. He was like, hey, yeah, and then maybe he asked a colleague to check it out or something. So that was pretty cool, yeah. Okay, next day we checked out at noon again. Like I said, we are always slow. Yeah. And unfortunately, on the way from Berlin to Lubeck, we had lots of Stau. So road constructions and lots of traffic means congestion, yeah. So after a while, I stopped at Wittenberg supercharger. I just wanted to top up, and we needed to go to the restroom anyway, so I topped up there just in case. And actually, Tesla navigation first, it suggested to take the Autobahn again, but then when I came back after the charging, it says to take the Landstrasse. So it continuously evaluates the traffic situation and picks the best route. And in Lubeck, we came there. We started doing some sightseeing. Well, it wasn't much of a sightseeing because it started raining, but I park at the parking garage, and at least the parking garage in Lubeck, they are dirt cheap compared to many other places. Yeah, you pay only 50 cents per 20 minutes. Yeah. And then over there, I use the Watt Finder app. Yet another app, but at least that app shows you the charging stations in Lubeck, which is not in some of the other apps I've used. And those charging stations, they are marked orange and they are free, so you can just use any RFID. You will not be billed for it. Just to unlock the charging station, like you can do in Norway also. But those are 22 kilowatt. Yes, yeah. And also from the sign, like I mentioned just now, it's also free parking and free charging, but you have the time limit you have to stay within. And over there it was only 2 hour time limit. Yeah. So because it was raining, then we just went to the hotel early and I started editing some video or whatever. So yeah, just chill. And then the last day we were supposed to drive from Lubeck back to Oslo, and I thought it was 800 kilometers. I did a little mistake in the planning. It was in fact 1,100 kilometers. I think I calculated the route with the boat, yeah, because I also considered taking the Puttgarden ferry, which actually would have been faster and shorter. But then I started stressing because it goes every hour, and I was trying to catch that one. And then I realized I couldn't make it anyway, so I was like, okay. And I look at Google, and it says it was 1 hour difference between the boat route and the land route. So I chose to take the land route, and it turns out to be a bad choice because we have had lots of traffic, some stau again, and I was also routed via Kiel, another detour, which also had stau over there. So on hindsight, the boat route would have been faster even if I had to wait for the next ferry, you know. But the problem with the boat is that it's somewhat expensive. You have to pay about 100 euros, and with the land route, you can get away with about 25-30 euros. But of course, you have to drive a longer distance. But charging is dirt cheap anyway. And the first charging stop was in fact not a supercharger. It was Ionity at Røde. But over there I had lots of charging interruptions. It actually bugged 6 times. Yeah, it's unbelievable how many times it bugged. I don't know why. It seems like the Porsche chargers, they don't like Tesla. No, it's probably not that. But at the Falkenberg supercharger, I met this guy, a Swedish guy named Bo, and he's actually the guy behind a better route planner. Yes, many of you guys have seen the app, use it many times, but so it was cool to meet the guy. I did a short interview with him, so you can watch that in the road trip video. Yeah, and then the last supercharger stop was in Uddevalla. They had some delicious food at Chop Chop. As far as I know, that's the only location where you have Chop Chop right next to a supercharger. Yeah, I wish we had more of that. And then last stop was at Fortum's hypercharger in Ås, yeah, Shell Ås, south of Oslo. They have a 150 kilowatt fast charger there. I needed to top up a little bit more because I had to pick up Dolly. So that was very convenient for me, yeah. So anyway, that was the whole trip, really long. I tried to make this as short as possible. So I will summarize now how the trip went. So in general, I would say that Model 3 is just superb for long trips. I've used Model X and Model S on road trips many times, and the Model 3 is in a completely different league. And the reason for that is that it has so good efficiency, and it has good range, and it charges so fast. All those things is like a synergy effect that makes the whole experience a lot better than before. Yeah. And now another nice bonus is that Model 3 is somewhat small, so it fits better in tight parking garages and parking spots where you have to parallel park. So I've been there with a Model X, you know, it's a bit scary here. And I stayed at a total of 8 different hotels on the trip, and 3 of those 8 hotels, they actually had charging right on the hotel. And then 6 of those 8 hotels, they had either charging at the hotel or charging in walking distance nearby. So that was really convenient. I didn't expect it to be that great. And another thing I found out was that you don't have to always start with 90%. I always try to struggle to get 90%. I think from old habit with Millennium Falcon, with Optimus Prime, which has shorter range and not that fast charging. But I found out that 90% is somewhat overkill, because in most cases we have to stop for lunch or something anyway after a couple of hours of driving in the morning, afternoon. And then usually I would arrive at the supercharger or the Ionity charger with 30%, you know. So actually it would be enough to start the day with about 70% if you can't make it to 90%. And I also found out that you don't always have to hunt for a charging station every time you stop for sightseeing or lunch or anything, you know. Many times I just parked whatever and the car was not plugged in, but it was fine because I had so good range. And every time we had food stop, the Model 3 will always finish before you can finish the food. That was the reality. And when you have the days when you drive a lot, then you can actually expect about 100 kilometers per hour average speed, including charging stops. Yeah, that is given that you don't have any stau on the road. Yeah. So I should mention one thing here, the Hubject roaming platform, because I didn't know about this until recently, that there is this roaming platform for charging. And plug surfing, get charge, Vista, MindGao, and other charging apps and whatever you call it, companies, they use this Hubject roaming platform. And what is this Hubject thing? Well, I'm trying to learn more about it, but from what I understand, you have those charge point operators like Fortum or RVE or some, those companies that own the hardware, then they run the charging station. They can choose to have it on Hubject. I asked Fortum, by the way, they are not on Hubject. Maybe I find out why. But now the advantage of being on Hubject is that then you can have these companies like plug surfing or whatever. Then you can roam. So it's easy for the end user like me, the consumer, that it doesn't matter what kind of who owns the hardware or who owns it, what company owns it, as long as they're on Hubject and whatever company I use, plug surfing, as long as they have configured it, then it will work. Yeah. So very convenient. I found out that plug surfing is really nice. You can always, I mean, in most cases, you can always start a charging station somewhere, but just be aware that it could be expensive, especially in Switzerland and Denmark. Yeah. As for Get Charge, they seem to be really the cheapest in many cases, but also in some cases they will also be the most expensive ones. So it's almost like a roaming price for telephone or stuff like that, data package. You always have to find out which one is the best for you. Yeah. But at least what I found out that Virta also worked. So Virta is a Finnish company, but they also connect to the Hubject, so that's why it works. Yeah. So I think I will make a separate video about this. Okay, but the last thing I have to talk about is Ionity chargers versus superchargers. So what I found out is that Ionity chargers, in many cases, they fill up a gap between the superchargers, which is pretty nice. So, well, at least for Tesla owners, yeah. And what I like about Ionity chargers is that it's always by the highway at a Rastplatz, a resting area, or a gas station in most cases. So that is really convenient. You don't have to take any long detours. And the Ionity, as for now, it charges faster on the Model 3 than supercharger. I can get up to 192 kilowatt on Ionity, whereas I can only get 118 kilowatt on superchargers. But that will change during the year, I guess. But the problem with Ionity is that it tends to bug. That is a bug with the Model 3, but hopefully if I get a hardware fix, then it shouldn't bug anymore. And as for price, it depends. If you have MindGao, you pay per kilowatt hours, then I still think that supercharger is cheaper than MindGao. But if you pay a fixed price per session and you charge a lot, then Ionity could be cheaper. But in most cases, Ionity is more expensive, but then it charges faster. So it's a trade-off there. And then you have to also consider the bug with it. Yeah. Okay, as for superchargers, way easier to use because I don't have to fiddle with an app stuff. I can just see it inside the Tesla screen, and you also see the live status there. And when you go to a supercharger, you just plug in and it starts charging. So it's really convenient. And also we have more supercharger locations, and each location has also more stalls. So really convenient that day, that way. But the disadvantage is that many superchargers, they require some weird detour from the main road. And also some of these supercharger locations, they are by a hotel or some weird place that is closing early. So then you're kind of stuck there because you want to you want to stop and have a restroom break and maybe grab a snack or something, which might not be always the case. So yes, I think that was it, the whole summary of the whole trip. It was a really long video, but I hope this was useful for you when you consider a trip, or maybe you want some tips and tricks about Europe road trips with an EV. So yeah, anyway, I think that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, thank you for watching, and talk to you